Welcome back to the Money Show, and let's get started with our discussion. And becoming a new parent is overwhelming. Suddenly, you are not only responsible for yourself, but another person who depends on you for everything. From the moment a baby comes home, you have to be mindful of your every action and be cautious about how it will affect the baby in terms of his or her health and upbringing as well. Also, having a baby requires you to make changes in your financial plans to take care of its every need and secure his or her future well. And for this Money Show today, we will talk about the changes you need to make in your financial planning and investments once you become a new parent. Let's welcome on board Harpreet Suri, who is the founder at Momwearsprada, and other than that, we also have Aditya with us. And just to give you a brief introduction about our guest for today, Harpreet is the most searched Indian mom blogger as per Google, and Aditya is from IIT Mumbai, and now with Wealthify.in, helping a lot of investors in different domains how to invest. Very welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for your time to ET Now. And before we start discussing about the planning stage, let's understand the need. And Harpreet, I'm coming to you for the first question because Harpreet, you are a mom too, and you also interact with a lot of mothers. So definitely when a child is born, all he or she needs is mom being around. But when it comes to money, what has been your experience there? How aware these days moms are about starting to invest for your newborn? And have you seen that increased participation there, or is it still lacking? And how important it is as per you?
Many questions together. I'll try and put them all in my answer. So, how I see it is that before we start planning, preparing, we need to understand, are we even ready for a commitment like this? A child, an investment on child doesn't only happen at the time when the child is born. It's the play school, the main school, the higher education, the college, the wedding. It just goes on. So we need to first see, are we ready for it, that commitment? I've taken a gap of 4 years and then 6 years with my children because I wanted to be very financially independent and I wanted to give both my children equal education. So I think it starts right from there.
Harpreet, but as in participation, when you interact with the other moms, just wanted to know that are these new moms these days, are they financially aware that they also need to do or start the same thing that you have been doing?
Yes, I see that a lot. I think parents बहुत aware हुए हैं. A lot of mothers, the kind of education we all are getting and the kind of society we are now living in, I think we are very aware. And thanks to all the calls that we get from all the banks who are always selling us, some scheme or the other. So yes, we all are very, very equally participant in that. And I think our husbands, like my husband at least, whenever he makes an investment, be it a FD or a SIP or a mutual fund, we have a joint discussion and think for which child we want to do what, because they have different goals and aims. So yeah, lots of it now.
Try to get some answers from you how to exactly plan it out. But Aditya, coming to you, how many such queries do you get and what are your views on the same? And would also like to have your take, because you are into financial planning. How important is that as per you to plan for your child the day the child is born, or you would say that it's even before that you need to start planning?
Yeah, I think as Harpreet said, essentially, as soon as you become a parent, so I'm also a father. I'm a father of a 6-year-old girl, and as you were saying, talking about how a baby steps into your world, and I was sort of, getting nostalgic about how our daughter came to the world, right? And essentially, of course, as soon as you have a baby, a lot of things change. But I think one thing that has remained the same, even when I look at my parents, I think they were, let's say, even if they were struggling to save, I think their first real savings sort of started when they had a child. So I think traditionally also our parents, and I think that's continued with us, because as parents, we are as soon as we get a child, we are, very different person. And I think that it's in itself is a very big trigger for you to start thinking. So in fact, when we look at, so we have more than 30,000 people who use our platform now. And we see a lot of people essentially starting to invest when they just have had a child, right? or when they just, so I think the question, it suddenly starts becoming, that question becomes really urgent and important, because otherwise for your saving and investing, you keep sort of postponing them, कि यार अगले महीने करेंगे, 6 महीने बाद करेंगे. But as soon as you have a child, you sort of, that urgency starts building up, that now it's not just about me and my future, but it's also a future of a person, a human being who have, who's been given birth by me and my wife. So we see a lot of people starting to think about investing when their child sort of comes into this world. And when it comes to financial planning, essentially there are two parts to the financial planning, right? The first part, which I would say is more important, is that, which is the, sort of the downside or the risk part, right? So because, as soon as you have a child, suddenly if you and your wife are working, let's say me and my wife are working, suddenly we have a dependent. So just in case something, really bad happens, if we are not around, we need to have enough security, financial security for our child. So I think first thing that at least we tell our clients, and we sort of, I also personally tell all my friends, that first thing you do as soon as you have a child is sort of ensure that you have very strong life insurance or a term insurance cover. And the second thing that you check for is ensure that, whatever health insurance plan you have, you get your child added to it, right? Because these are things that sort of are, any such emergency can really erode and can sort of really put the financial future of your child and your family at risk. So I think that's the first step. Of course, you start thinking. As Harpreet said, I think the second thing that immediately happens is that your monthly expenses go up immediately, because you might have a nanny if you're working, you might have a crash if sort of both of you are going to work, and you start having other expenses. So I think that is sort of an immediate sort of impact that happens, because your expenses on a month-to-month basis start increasing. And the third thing essentially, which is super important, is planning for the future, right? So I think we'll cover that probably later. But so these are the three sort of changes that happen or should happen in your financial lives as soon as sort of you have a child with you in your lives.
So a couple of pointers there to note, and we'll definitely talk about the different stages of life where as a parent you're going to be planning about it. But Harpreet, coming to you, because like you were saying that you just wanted to be financially independent in all the scenarios. So what were the baby steps that you have taken, and as per what will be your suggestion on the same? Because what we are given to understand is that when it's a girl child, there are a lot of schemes that are available, but when you have a boy, then you have to start for his activities, or rather, and to plan the same, you need money, right? So what was your baby steps out there, and how did you plan? And otherwise as well, because with such increased expenses, how did you manage, as well as what sort of a planning would you recommend for the moms out there?
So, my victory or winning was we started making pockets, for every expense, because we were not ready. We didn't know what was coming to us. We were caught unaware. We thought the expense will be hospital and basic medicines, but a lot of calculations. We were new parents when we didn't realize. So we started making pockets, be it travel, be it nanny, baby, nursing products, be it home expenses. The moment we got our budget and these categories in place, it became easier for us. So yes, a बहुत important thing we did was, which was cutting down our entertainment expenses, because one, there was no time that time because you were so busy, and that entire money went into that. So it really helped us to live a smoother life. Then my first investment I did for my daughter was Sukanya Samriddhi. It was one of the most fantastic ones that government has done, and about a lakh and a half you can do till she's 21, and the interest that grows is a handsome chunk. When I want to send her abroad to study, I think people I want to change this perception. I'm really trying my best. We are trying to save for our daughters for their wedding. I always say save for your daughter to send her to the best B school, so that she decides who she wants to get married to. So yeah, that's what I did with my daughter. Pockets ban gayi hain. We've taken right plans. Whichever bank you trust, sit down with your agent, understand what options they have for you, and according to your pocket, then go ahead and invest in them.
That's interesting to hear. So that's the takeaway, that you need to find your pockets and how do you want to allocate. But Aditya, you also have a girl child, so just wanted to know that are there any more schemes other than Sukanya Samriddhi which you highlight for all those newly parents, either they have a boy or a girl, that some of the schemes that they should immediately look forward to, as well as you were also touching about the insurance space. So how do you go about it?
I think the first thing that I did, as I said, was that I had a 1 crore term insurance cover, so I immediately increased that to a few more crores because I realized that essentially we have one more dependent now. So both me and my wife increased our term life cover. So that was something we did immediately. Second thing, as I said, we increased our health cover and also added our child to it. So that was the second. So these were the things that we did immediately as soon as the child was born. Like I think if I'm correct, maybe day 2 or day 3 that she came home. I think second thing that we did essentially was something very simple, as Harpreet mentioned, that because we are living in a strange world today. We are living in a world where things that are enabled by technology, like phones, so all this is sort of decreasing in prices. There is a deflationary pressure, but anything that requires a human being or a physical space, they are inflationary. So education is one of them, right? So we are seeing a 6 to 9% annual increase in the cost of education. So to give you an example, if an MBBS education or an MBA, let's say an MBA costs 30 lakh rupees in India today, right now, right? So if I, let's say, project it out 16, 18 years down the line, it will probably cost probably more than 60 lakhs, right? So one thing that we realized that, education is something that is going to become more and more expensive. If you look at the US, right? US, the biggest issue right now is the debt that people take to send kids to college in the US. So we said that the first thing we need to ensure is that whatever happens, we need to have a large enough pool of money for a child to go to a college of her choice, right, when she matures. And so for that, I think I believe in equity as an asset class. So equity, like what Harpreet mentioned, Sukanya Samriddhi, these are debt products, a debt instrument. It will give you 8%, but guaranteed. But when you have a horizon like 15, 18 years, right, you have to bet on India's growth story. And that can only be done via an equity asset class or select choice of stocks that you like. So, but we ended up doing like a SIP of a certain amount every month in a select pool of mutual funds, because that is one easy way of sort of growing money over the next 15, 18 years as she matures. So that's the second thing we did, that we essentially started an SIP for her in a pool of mutual funds, which are equity mutual funds, for it to grow and become a sizable pool when she's 18 years old.
Okay, so those are the takes coming in over there. But Harpreet, coming to you, because when it comes to the pockets, like you were highlighting before, there has to be a pocket of emergencies. We always talk about it in finance, but when getting a new baby, or rather a new dependent, then what was your planning phase when it comes to the emergency corpus? How did you guys deal with that?
It all boils down to the same thing. You plan it better. So if it's emergency, all your holiday, all your entertainment, everything goes for a toss, and it all goes to emergency. But at times like these, our FDs, which we did when we got married, helped us. That factor is also there, which we forget. As a couple, when you get married, you have your dreams and aspirations, and you put it all together and we start. Because I think as a community, we Indians are like that. We like to save that penny and keep it for our future. That's how we are. I think we are trained to be that. So we had that amount also, and that really worked. And I realized with my kids were born, how important is saving, and why my parents always insisted that I save. And I'm now trying my best to inculcate it in my kids. My son is 12. With his pocket money also, I tell him that save a little amount. You never know. So you just told me emergency. See, I anyways tell him that. You told me, I realized it. That we are so trained to tell them that you should always have something on, offhand.
Well, yes, interesting take over there. And Aditya, coming to you, because like we were just discussing about the pockets, we have touched upon the emergency as well as a couple of schemes over there. But when it comes to the inflation part, so inflation definitely is going to beat the investment done. There will be a compounding factor at play. But when we plan about the school studies, when we plan about some of the life events like marriage, then a big corpus is required. So for any new parent, what will be your advice, that at least this much is the amount that you should be looking to invest in? And what particular asset class will you be telling them for? Because equity can give you some more returns when in comparison to the debt funds. There are some government schemes as well. So what is the minimum amount that you would vouch out for, as well as which asset class would you prefer for investing for child's future?
Yeah. No, I think, as I said, I think the first thing that I would at least suggest a parent is that imagine that if you have to send your kid, let's say in India, the most expensive education right now is MBBS, right? I'm not talking about sending someone for US, but in India also, it's MBBS costs today between 40 to 50 lakh rupees as of today. So if I look at 18 years from now or 15 years from now, it will at least be a crore, right? So to be able to fund that education of crore and not depend on sort of taking a loan, should at least look at essentially investing 10,000 rupees every month in a basket of equity mutual funds, because that 10,000 rupees month on month can at least get you that close to that 1 crore. And as you sort of grow in that corpus, and as you become closer to sort of the time that you want to withdraw that money, that is when you can sort of switch that money, little bit of that money, into debt fund so that it becomes more secure, right? But I think that is the first thing I would do. And let's say if I've set aside, let's say set aside 25,000 rupees per month for my savings for my children, then maybe I'll probably split 15,000, let's say, in equity space, and 10,000 rupees in what, Preet was also saying, in if I have a girl child, look at a scheme like Sukanya Samriddhi, because it is something that gives 8% return, which is, sort of almost risk-free and is guaranteed as of today, and is sort of also helps me save taxes on the amount that I'm investing there. So I think that is the second instrument that I would consider. And, both these together should be enough for you to at least fund for education. And I think I also believe in the same camp as, Harpreet said, that, we have to get our children, our future, ready to have a great education, because I think, trust me, education is only going to get more expensive from here, right? And after that, whether they want to have a marriage which is of 10 people or of, 5,000 people, that is up to them. And hopefully they would have become big enough and, capable enough to sort of do those expenses on their own.
Okay, that was interesting to know. And with this, we'll let you go on that. Thank you so much, Harpreet and Aditya, for joining us for this interesting conversation. It was great learning from you guys' experience, as well as your wise advice to all those new parents, would-be parents out there. Pleasure hosting you.
Bye.
But with this, viewers, it's time to slip into a short break in this edition of The Money Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more. And then it's the time to take all your portfolio-related queries. So we'll get started with that. Stay tuned.